and then I would have gotten fired. My team would have fired me. Okay, so welcome to Profitable Content Creation, Recession-Proof Skills. This is my series of 4 classes I'm teaching on skills that I think are really important to have no matter when, no matter what, because they are necessary to growing businesses, especially growing businesses online. So last week we talked about growing a community. A community is different than an audience. Did anyone come to last week's class? Just like drop an emoji in the chat. Oh, Z raised their hand. Hello, yes. Great. So this week we talked about communities last week, which is pretty important in order to have people to read your content. We're talking about copywriting next week and how to do ethical and magical copywriting and spellcasting, which is another one of my favorite topics to talk about. Yay, great. And today, of course, we're talking about profitable content creation. So let's get into it. My intention is to teach you how to make content that's fun and magical and profitable and generative as opposed to degenerative and aligned and organic, because I think that that's what the content creation process should feel like. It shouldn't feel like you're pulling teeth. It shouldn't feel like it gives you gray hairs or like gives you so much anxiety. It should feel like the purest expression of yourself. Like, you know, when your smile just like pops out of your face because it just is, when your energy is like glowing out of you. That's what the content creation experience I think should be like. It's like the purest encapsulation of you just in content form. It should feel really easy and it should feel really fun and it should feel really magical. If it doesn't, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not doing it right. I just think like I want to hold that vision for you because I think it can be like that. So what are we going to talk about today? What's going on? What's in today's lesson? Just a heads up. I channel the Akashic Records when I'm making most of my content, and they gave me some really weird shit to talk about to you today. So we're going to start with that, about how it's like a house. Then we're going to talk about how everything is content. That's definitely a meme. Then we're going to talk about the release runway. And then we're going to talk about the 2 types of paid content. And then finally, we're going to talk about PCCL, the Profitable Content Creator Lab, which is a course that we have at Holisticism that is going live on April 19th, but you get a special sneaky early bird access discount, super sweet discount to it. So if you want to learn more about this stuff, that's available for you. In the meantime, I'm going to deliver so much value to you for free in the next 50 minutes. Okay, so first off, let me move my face again. Who am I? Why am I here telling you this? Why am I sweating so profusely? Why did I decide to wear a crop top turtleneck in the middle of April in California? I don't know. Who's to say? I'm Michelle. I'm the head witch in charge at Holisticism. I'm a Pisces sun, Cancer rising, Scorpio moon. I cry a lot. I'm a 4/6 emotional projector. So I spent the first half of my life, or the first 30 years of my life, really fucking up, trying a lot of things on for size and learning. And now what I'm supposed to do, thank God, now that I'm 32, is just teach people how to make their lives easier based on like all that stuff I went through, teaching you, here's what worked and here's how you can do it better, which is really fun for me. I grew up in California, moved to New York, lived there for 8 or 9 years, and then moved back to LA a couple of years ago. And I am definitely an ex-overachiever, still a little bit of an overachiever, but I trend towards ease and rest because of health stuff. And what you must know about me is that beverages are the key to my heart. I would rather drink 100 beverages than have a fancy, delicious dinner somewhere. I don't know, it's just my kink. Some other things that are important about me is that I worked in tech for a really long time, Silicon Valley, anyone? And I did not have fun. It was straight up not a good time, but I did learn a lot. So I'm really grateful for the experience. Also, hey, fellow Italian. Yes, Italians represent. And when I was working in tech, I learned a lot about content creation. So that is where the last 10 years of my content creation experience really comes from building brands from the ground up, from being employee 6 at companies that raised up to $40 million and grew to millions and millions of followers and users, and how to use content in order to sell products and also use content to grow communities. So this is really my jam. I started holisticism with a little bit of magic 4 years ago. I cannot believe we're reaching our 4-year anniversary soon. It's totally crazy to me. And it's been the delight of my life to grow an intuitive business that feels aligned with what I do, that marries magic and mysticism and well-being and all the weird kooky shit that I love. So it's possible. If I can do it, you can totally do it. Trust me. And yeah, I'm a witch. So I pull tarot cards, I read the Akashic records. I had a candle magic spell burning on my altar up until a couple days ago. And all of that is infused into what I do and how I approach making content. If that's not your jam, that's totally fine, but it is my jam. So that's really the lens that I work through and how I teach what I teach. So that's me. Hope that's okay. All right. Oh, Sarah, I didn't know that I was in tech for too long. Yeah, tech it'll really kill your soul fast. So I'm glad you got out of that, Sarah. All right. So this was the weird thing that my Akashic records really were like thrusting in my face about how I needed to talk about content. And they kept saying, it's like a house. It's like a house. We all have to live somewhere. We all have to find a home, right? Or we can refuse to have a home, I guess. Our home can be ourselves. Our home can be somewhere, but we have a home, ideally, when we're well-resourced, when we're resourced in general. And they kept showing me like this example of, you get to pick what your home is like. I don't know, does anyone know anything about neural aesthetics? Just like pop an emoji into the chat if you know generally what that is, or if you've heard about it. But neuroaesthetics is the idea that art and the way that things are designed actually impact our mood and how we operate in the world. And so I was the type of person for a really long time who, when I lived in multiple apartments, because I lived in New York and then I lived in LA, and I moved every single year for like 9 years, where I was like, I'm just not going to put art up on the walls. I don't really like live in my apartment. It's just a place that I sleep in. And it's fine that it doesn't look the way that I want it to look, whatever. It doesn't like impact me that much. And it actually like greatly impacts us when our space doesn't reflect who we are, and it doesn't feel beautiful to us. It doesn't like aesthetically please us. So your home, if you're like the college age version of me, you can say like, yeah, I don't really care about how it looks. It doesn't matter. It's just like a place that's Spartan and that like is utilitarian. And we can look at content in the same way. Oh, it's utilitarian. I have to make content. So like whatever, it doesn't have to be an enjoyable experience. It doesn't have to be a magical experience. I just have to do it. It serves its purpose. But I don't think that it needs to be like that. I don't think it should be like that. I think that just like our homes can be these magical places that feel aligned for us, that excite us and delight us, that we can change and evolve and that we can make beautiful, and they completely change our experience of living. I think that our experience with work is the same way, and our experience with content is really similar. Yes, we need to have it. All of us are making content all of the time, but we do have a choice around how we want to interact and engage with that content. We can choose to either have it be degenerative to us, right? To take away from our life, to uninspire us, or we can choose to have it be like a beautiful space that we get to decide and choose and make magical for ourselves, because we know that it improves the quality of our life. It is life-giving and it is generative. So I don't know if that tracks, but my Akashic records really wanted me to tell you that. So just let me know if that home decor is everything. Yeah, I mean, like I feel like I get it. Let's go with it. So I wanted to start with that, but really everything is content. Everything is content, and every piece of content can be profitable. I mean, we live on Instagram. We are emailing and texting and making videos and taking pictures all day long. Even this, right? Like this is content, what we're doing right now. Yes, I feel like the pandemic made this very clear, since we're home all the time. Oh yeah, that your home is really important. Exactly. But even I think the pandemic, Diana, like jumping off your lily pad, the pandemic has also made it clear that like literally anything is content. You fucking around in your kitchen, that's content. You like twerking to a song, that's content. There's no limit to it. And I think that it's so second nature for us to be making and creating that we don't often think about where that creative energy is going to, what it's directed towards. And because every piece of content can be profitable, there's a couple things that I just want to caveat here. I really think that money shaming is like the new slut shaming. And when people want to have money, or when people want to be well resourced, we shame them for it. And I'm like not about that life. And it's okay if you don't agree with me, but I'm going to be talking about making profitable content in this class. So I'm going to be talking about making money and resource. And while resource is not always financial, a big part of what we're talking about today is going to be money. So I'm here, not here for slut shaming or money shaming, or shaming anyone who wants to feel well resourced by their work. I think we all deserve to have that, and to have that space, especially people who experience marginalization or have traditionally experienced marginalization. Liberation is we all have nice things. Exactly. So you're making content all the time. What kind of content are you making? Are you posting on IG? Are you making a blog? Are you making a podcast, a newsletter? Tell me in the comments. I would actually really love to know what your content kink. What's your content that you're making? Maybe you're like a YouTuber. I wish I was you. How do you do that all the time? I can barely like get up the nerve to be on Zoom like this. Email, baby. Yes. IG and newsletter. Email and IG. Newsletter for me. Yes. Ooh, I love this. I love how many people are newslettering. Yes. Gold stars all around. Even like making content, maybe you're like, oh no, I'm not making any content for my business. Oh, for shame. No, I'm not. I'm hiding. Even when you put up an IG story of your dog, that's content, dude. Like it's all content. It might not be like the most high quality content, but it's still content. So working on a newsletter, just becoming a YouTube channel, Patreon. Yes, Patreon is totally content. Newsletter, IG, blog post, texting. Yes, I love texting. I love texting as a form of reaching your community and your people. IG, TikTok, YouTube, blog, Patreon. Whoa, amazing. I'm a bit of an online clown myself in a non-humorous industry. Still trying to find my way around it. Yeah, it can be really challenging to be, because like humor is often triggering for people who like take their lives really seriously. When you're like, it ain't that deep, bro. They get really offended, but I love that you're clowning it up, Cloud. I always get the most engagement when I post my dog. Same. People love Bonnie. What can I say? Okay, cool. So we're all in agreement. We're making content consistently all the time. Maybe not consistently, but we are making content. So my question for you is, are you well-resourced? Are you feeling well-resourced by that? And like I said, resource is not just money, but it can be money. Resource can be other things. It can be emotional support. It can be feeling seen, or feeling heard, or feeling understood, or being recognized. And like I said, money isn't bad, but money is just a tool that amplifies the innate energy of the person or the company or the entity that has it. So I want to know, do you feel well-resourced by your content? Meaning, are you making money from it, or are you well-resourced in another way? Anybody? Anybody feeling resourced? I think that is a sign or a symptom of not feeling well-resourced is feeling things like feeling burnt out. So, or feeling dysregulated when you have to make content. Sometimes people use the word triggered, but I prefer a friend who's a therapist, and she always uses the word dysregulated. And I find it to be like much more, much less dysregulating than triggered. So yeah, feeling like not supported, feeling like drained can be another form that your content is not resourcing you. Also, just like not having money, that can be an example of not being well-resourced. If you think about the amount of time and energy that you're spending making content versus how much free time and energy you have because of your content, how does that feel? Creatively resourced, monetarily not yet. Following my MG whim, so I feel a bit scattered around my process. I feel tired thinking about content. Meg, I definitely understand that. Sarah, resource. Get it, Sarah. Yes. Cloud, no. I am resourced in ideas. I like that. Resourced in inspiration. So feeling some sort of energy from it, but maybe not necessarily feeling maybe not necessarily feeling financial resource from it. And that's okay too. Remember, like, you can be resourced in so many different things. Maybe my community isn't here to resource me financially. Maybe they're here to resource me emotionally and spiritually. And that doesn't make them any less valuable. Or maybe my partner is here to help me feel resourced in a certain way. And it might not be that they pay all my bills. It might be that they hold space for me. That doesn't, again, take away from them. But money is definitely a form of resource. Okay. My question for you is like, if you know your human design, what's your not self theme? And have you noticed that when you are not feeling well resourced by your content, that your not self theme rears its head? I'll give an example. I'm a projector. Our not self theme is bitterness. Love to be bitter. I'm very good at being bitter. I spent the majority of my life being bitter. And as soon as I start to feel, oh, hey Taryn, I just saw your cute face. When I feel bitter, like when I'm like, people never say thank you, or I can't believe they're criticizing what I do when I give them so much for free. Or, these like not so cute voices or conversations pop up in my head. I'm like, oh, girlfriend, you are bitter. You're being bitter right now. You're not self-theme is happening. You're not feeling seen, which is what projectors need. They need to feel like someone sees them and invites them in. So very good at being bitter. Angry, yes. Frustration, yes. Frustrated, big time. Anger, yes. Lots of generators in here. Same, bitterness to the max. Okay, so I just want you, there is nothing wrong with feeling you're not self-theme. There's nothing wrong with it. It is an indicator. Just like anger, there's nothing wrong with anger. Actually, anger is like dope. It's righteous because anger tells us when a boundary has been crossed for us. And that's really important information. Same thing when you're feeling you're not self-theme. It's really important information. And it's our job and responsibility to go, okay, where the fuck is that coming from? Is that coming from me? Is that coming from it's all 99% of the time coming from us, right? And the way that we're interacting and choosing to interact with the world around us. So just notice, like, when am I feeling my not self theme when I'm making content or when I'm showing up for my community? Why isn't this working? Yeah, plus capitalism. I mean, yeah, you can add plus capitalism to basically like, I don't like this for XYZ plus capitalism. I feel like that's the answer. So I'm going to say something that some of my students are going to be like, Michelle, you always talk about free content, but there's really no such thing as free content. Just like there's no such thing as free lunch. Did anyone's dad ever say that to them? My dad always used to say that to me. There's no such thing as free lunch, Michelle. And it's true. There's always something that we're interacting with or that we're exchanging. There's always an energetic exchange. The lunch it might be free. We might not be changing dollar bills for a grilled cheese sandwich, but we are changing something, right? Maybe in order to get that free lunch, you have to hang out with someone that you don't really like for an hour. Okay. There's no such thing as free lunch. Selena, yes, my dad did. Good. I'm glad our dads are probably like don't have a lot of great dad jokes, but love to drop little knowledge bombs like that. Another knowledge bomb that my dad always used to drop: if you don't want to drink when you're at a party, add some bitters to some seltzer water, or ask the bartender for bitters and seltzer, and everyone will think you're drinking. That's a really helpful piece of information that my dad taught me. So there you go, passing that along to you. Oh yes, energy exchange, nice. So there's no such thing as free content ever, because your free content is always leading to something. You are always in relationship with who you're talking to. And so nothing is ever for free. There's always an energetic exchange. Now, that energetic exchange isn't always equitable. That's just the truth. That's just life. There are going to be some people that are going to take more than they give. And we're in a relationship with them and we feel that. And that's often when we feel our not self theme, right? When someone is taking more or a boundary has been crossed for us and it doesn't feel good. So our responsibility and what we can control in those relationships is how we act in the boundary that we create, and also that we're directing our energy in a responsible way. So your content should always be leading to some sort of I put the word transaction here because I wanted to express the like give and take that comes with any sort of energetic exchange. All relationships are transactional. And I don't mean that like they're just like exchanging, money. We are constantly in giving and receiving all the time in every single thing that we do. A mother and a child are still in a transactional relationship. Although there's unconditional love there's a transaction. We get things from being in relationship with people, even if the only thing that we get is love or a good feeling, right? Does that make sense? Just like pop into the chat and let me know that I'm not sounding totally deranged here. Or give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. Thanks, C. Okay, cool. So energy has to go somewhere. And I want you to think about your content as being a physical manifestation of your energy or a digital manifestation of your energy. And we want to be directing our energy to a place. I often think about if I was a circle, right? And I'm putting my energy in a million different directions outside of the circle. If anyone's read the book Essentialism, there's an image of this inside Essentialism. If I put my energy in all these different areas, going all these different directions, this circle is not going to move anywhere, right? Because the energy is pulling in opposite indications. If I give my energy to one direction, maybe straight up or straight to the side, I'm going to go in that direction, right? Because I'm directed. My energy is directed. It's the same thing with your content. When you're making content that's pointing out in all these different directions, that's directing and indicating to different outcomes, you're not going to go in any direction. You're going to stay pretty stuck. And also, by the way, your community and your users will be a little confused as to what they're supposed to do, because we know that people need a call to action, right? That's one of the most important things that we can offer them, is an invitation for what we want them to do next. And energy has to go somewhere. So let's be directed with the energy that we're making, that we're putting out into the world. So here's the thing. If you're making content online with no clear directive, you are just wasting energy. Sorry, I hate to be the bitch that says it, but it's true. If you're just making stuff and like spewing it out to the world because you're like, I need to make content every single day, but there's no reason why, there's no like clear future directive, then you're just spinning your wheels and you're exhausting yourself. Especially if you're not enjoying it. It's one thing if the creation process is helping you find clarity, that's different. But if you are making content, hoping and crossing your fingers that it's eventually going to get you paid, but you don't have a clear directive, sorry, baby, it's time to change things up. So I want to ask you, what are you pointing to? Let me know in the chat right now. What are you pointing to? So every piece of content that you're making, what are you pointing to? What is the eventual outcome that you want your users to take, or the transaction that you want your users to take? It can be buying a one-on-one session with me. It can be joining my community program. It can be buying my ebook. It can be signing up for a digital class with me, one-on-one offer, book a one-on-one field work session with me, join group coaching. Yeah. And also if you're like, hey, I'm pointing to a million things right now, just that's helpful to know, because like you are not alone. So pop that into the chat too. If you're like, I got to make a little bit more clarity around that. Sessions and formulations, book a session or buy one. For me, signing up for a class for my clients, booking one-on-one sessions. I have two sides of my businesses, services and products, and I always struggle with how to focus my content. Any suggestions? Yeah, Lauren, let's talk about that at the end of class. Signing up for my program. If my directive is purely to inspire right now, I need to switch that to inspiring people to support my business. Yeah. Yes, Bree. Yes. How often do we repeat our offers? That's a good question, Taryn. We can talk about it at the very end. Not at the very end. We'll talk about it in the questions, because I'd love to like dive a little bit deeper on it. Shidea, one-on-one. Hi, Shidea. One-on-one mentorship and services. Abby, one-on-one session and group services. Okay, great. My directions are a little scattered right now. Yeah. I totally get that. I think it's normal to have everything be a little bit scattered, because we're trying to spin lots of plates all at once, right? And my MGs out there are like, but I'm supposed to spin the plates. And I would agree with that. You are supposed to spin plates. I'm not saying that you need to break all the plates, but we do want to have a clear directive of where our energy is, because MGs, you're still, when you're working on lots of things, you're still monotasking. You're not multitasking. There's no such thing as multitasking. You're focusing on one thing for a short period of time before you move to the next thing, right? You're not doing 17 things at the same time. Same thing with your content, right? So same sort of general idea everywhere and nowhere. Yeah, Kelly. So for you, what are you pointing to? And what do you want the energetic exchange to be? Do you want your energetic exchange to be money? Do you want it to be attention? Because attention is definitely an energetic exchange. So if you're like, I just want to grow my following on Instagram. Okay, cool. That's great. That's a form of energetic exchange. If that's what you want more eyes on your stuff. Maybe you want support in a different way. So let me know in the chat. There's no such thing as multitasking. Yeah, I hate to say it. God, I'm being an asshole today, but it's okay. I kind of like it. It's Aries season. It does this to me. What do you want your energetic exchange to be? I would love if someone would just even throw out like a number. If you're feeling brave, money and community connection. What do you want? Tell me what you want. What do you want? Email subscribers. I want it all. $1,000 a month, $6,000 a month to live on the beach. Fuck yeah, dude. Everything. 10,000 a month. Credibility and attention. Yes, thank you for saying attention, because attention is a huge thing and we're scared to have people's attention. But guess what? Attention, we live in an attention economy. Attention also leads to money. Say it with me, money. Yep, that's right. What do you want? It's not that simple. Cloud knows this. Yep, that is the rest of the meme. All right. Community connection, attention, dollars. Yes, yes, yes. So money's not bad. Attention's not bad. Connection's not bad. None of these things are bad. They're all good, right? We just have to kind of like own them and be really clear on what we want. I don't want to make anyone feel ashamed of what's coming up for them, because there are so many different paths to profitable content creation. And that's what I want to talk about, because it's not just making a course. Like, I am positive that there's someone out there who's like, oh, fuck, no, I don't want to talk about making courses. Everyone's making courses right now. Okay, I have an opinion on that, but there's a million other ways to make profitable content, and making a course is only one of them. Having attention, growing your audience, guess what? That's a way to make profitable content. So just getting clear on what is it that we want, what drives us, will help us figure out which direction we want to go in, right? Okay. Embrace that shadow. Yes, Rose. So let's talk about profitable content. Profitable content leads to conversion, and that is chaos magic. Chaos magic is magic that leads to an outcome. I told you we were going to talk about weird shit today. So we can slot profitable content into 3 different categories. The first is conversion content. The second is direct paid content. And the third is indirect paid content. Any of my PCCL alumni in here? You know direct paid content. Hey, yeah. You know direct paid content, and you know indirect paid content. You also know conversion content, because we talk about it in PCCL. But every piece of content can alchemize a transformation and coach your client. Every single thing that you do, even when it's free, right? Even if that's not the thing that someone's paying you for, even if it's a blog post or an Instagram post or an IG story, if you really tap in and you get clear on your message, and you also know where you're directing people to, the energy you're directing them to, that can be life-changing content that you make. And I'm just here to tell you that, like, conversion content doesn't need to be like an ad. It doesn't have to be an infomercial. It doesn't have to be like scammy and cheesy and being like, buy my course at the end of it, right? Conversion content can change someone's life. And the point of it is to help coach your user to the person they can be, where they can see the future and the transformation that you can deliver to them with your content, with your product, or with your service. And that's effectively what conversion content is. You're coaching people to be the person who can either say, yes, this product or service is for me, or no, actually, this product or service is not for me, because I know myself well enough to know what I need. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat if that makes sense, because I think we often get like scared that if we're going to make free content on a release runway, which is what we call it in PCCL, that's leading to a product or service, that we have to be super salesy and be like, oh my God, do you love water? I also love water. Have you ever tried Spindrift? It doesn't need to be like that, right? Yes. Okay, cool. Great. All right. Whew, I'm like so spicy today. Sorry. Like, just tell me to cool it down if I need to pull it down a little bit. So let's talk about the 4 E's of conversion content. Yeah, Aries energy is right. I dated an Aries once. It was the most dangerous 2 years of my life. He just kept jumping off buildings on bikes. It's like, why are we doing this? Can we be at home? Like, what is happening here? Fires all the time. Okay. The 4 E's of conversion content. Abby, tell me about it. I'm married to one. Yikes. Okay. So the 4 E's, conversion content. When you're creating conversion content, it's typically the content that is free, that leads up to a product or service sale. It's the content that coaches someone to that conversion. You're providing a transformational, alchemical experience for your community just through the work that you're publishing. So it is inevitably invaluable. I'm going to repeat that. It's inevitably invaluable. The content that you're giving them is invaluable. And this type of content, the 4 E's, it educates on the what. So I've said this in a podcast a bunch of times, and I say this in PCCL, and I say this to anyone who'll listen. Your free content is the what, your paid content is the how. So what is it? How do I do it? That's your paid content. So your conversion content educates people on the what. So if I was, I'm going to do a plug for House of Hoodoo. So I'm obsessed with House of Hoodoo. I don't know if you guys follow on IG. Jessica's amazing. And she makes these incredible oils, right? Yeah, she makes amazing conditioner oils. And so I would need to be educated in order to know what this was, in order to want to buy it. I need to know what it does. What's a conditioner oil? How do I use it? What does it smell like? What's in it? Like, what's the practice around it? Where does it come from? That's the what. And so her content around conditioner oils needs to educate people on what these things are, because we have clients who need to know the problem, and they also need to know the solution. So when a client is problem aware, it means that they know what their problem is. And so for this particular oil, this is a road opener, right? So if I knew that my problem was that I was blocked or that the roads were blocked, great, I would be problem aware. Solution aware means that you know that there's a solution to that problem that you have. And you know the solution is this product or this service. So I'm a problem and solution aware client because I know that I'm blocked and that road opener can help me. So does that track? Yeah, free content is the what and paid content is the how. The next thing that conversion content does is it empowers identity. So conversion content gives our users, our community, the opportunity to do a head nod moment where they say, oh yeah, that's totally me. So if Jessica was going to make content around this, she might say something like, are you someone who is feeling like you keep running into blocks? Everything that you do, like you're doing all the right steps, you're taking like you're doing everything right, but you just can't seem to like break through that wall. You just feel stuck. I'm totally nodding my head. Is anyone else nodding their head? Right? We're like, oh yeah, that's totally me. That's a head nod moment. That empowers my identity. That says, oh, that's me. And then maybe, another further way to empower my identity is to say, are you also a witch? Oh yeah, that's me too. Okay, great. I know that this product is made for me. So empowering your identity singles out your user. It makes them feel singled out. It makes them feel seen. It makes them feel heard. It makes them feel understood. And they know that they're safe with you. They know they're in the right spot. We want to signal to people that like, yes, I've landed with people that understand me, that I'm going to resonate with. This is the right place for me. I feel safe investing my money, my energy, my time here. The next thing that conversion content does, Bonnie's mad, is erase objections. So objections are natural. You all probably have objections right now when it comes to thinking about how you're going to create this content, right? If you don't have objections, you're probably going to accidentally join a cult. Like that's not good. That's not necessarily a good thing, right? We want to be skeptical. We want to use our brains. We want to have objections come up. Objections get bad when they become limiting beliefs that tell us that everything that we want is impossible for us. That's when objections are like no bueno. But objections in general are like a good thing to have. And like we shouldn't be frowning on them all the time. So with our content, we want to erase those objections by showing our users what's true, by giving them more information, and by delivering to them and helping them decide whether that objection is a deal breaker or not. Because if we said, for example, maybe an objection for this product would be, well, I don't know how to do candle magic, so I can't use this thing. And so Jessica could be like, well, technically you don't need to use candle magic in order for these conditioner oils to work. You can use it on your body, but here's also a practice for you. Here's a video to teach you how to use this with candle magic. Okay, great. That erases my objection around not knowing candle magic. But then maybe I come up with an objection that's, actually, I'm like really scared of witchcraft and hoodoo and voodoo. So I don't know if this is for me. In which case, Jessica has done exactly what she wants to do, because all that we're here to help people do is decide whether something's right for them or not. We're not here to convince someone that they need our product or they need our service or they need us. They don't. You're just here to provide more clarity to them. You're here to get them out of the pain of not knowing the decision, of being on the fence, right? Being in indecision is really, really, really uncomfortable. And it's when we press pause in our life and when anxiety begins to sort of like build up inside of us. I don't know. Can anyone relate to that when you're like stuck, just trying to make a decision? I'm seeing some head nodding. Yeah, it sucks. And so your only job is to just help people get off the fence. And we can do that by just being honest with them and being true and saying, all right, well, if you're afraid of like witchcraft and I don't know, lighting candles, like this is not the right product for you, my guy. It's just not. It's never going to be the right product for you. So I'm not going to like sell it to you and then have you be mad about it. That's not the point. That's not why we're here. And then finally, the fourth E of conversion content is easy wins. I am a huge fan of this one. I also call this quick wins. I think that in every piece of content that you make, you should give your audience a quick win. You should give them something easy that they can immediately implement to see in their life that makes their life better. So maybe what Jessica could do with this is say, even though you don't have road opener yet, but I just taught you about how to use candle magic. Here's a candle magic spell that you can do with a birthday candle. It'll take 5 minutes. You probably have a birthday candle at home. There you go. That's a quick win, right? That's a quick spell. So those are the 4 E's of conversion content. So exciting. So let's talk about how to use them. Birthday candle magic is I think one of the most underrated forms of magic. That's just my opinion. Love a birthday candle magic. Also love, I have used some menorah candle magic before with my husband's permission. They were his menorah candles. So there we go. Okay. So when it comes to making conversion content, do this, not that. Do have a clear intention of where you're directing your energy. What is the product or service that you are trying to direct people to? Why are you making this content? Where is this going? What's the end game? Do not just make content for the hell of it, unless it truly delights you and lights you up and helps you get even more clarity in what it is that you're here to offer your users. Because sometimes it does help us do that, but don't just spin your wheels and make content because you think you need to post every day on Instagram. That is not the key to happiness, my friend. And by the way, neither is just growing your audience just for the sake of growing it. Just because someone has a lot of followers does not correlate to like dollars in bank accounts. Let's just remember that. Okay. Next, plan ahead with a release runway. A release runway is a period of time, usually like at a minimum 6 weeks, leading up to a product release or a service release, where you're going to sort of like have a big announcement that you're launching a product or a service. That 6-week release runway, you're going to drop content every single week from the 4 E's of conversion content. So it's going to educate, it's going to empower, it's going to give that self-identifying head nod moment, it's going to have easy wins, and it's going to erase objections. And that content, not every single piece of content has to do that, but you want to hit those 4 E's in the content that you're making, because that's going to prime your community to be ready to buy that product that inevitably you're going to be serving up to them. Oh, definitely empathize with your ideal client. What do they need to know or understand in order to see the value in your product? Are they problem aware? Do they understand their problem? Are they solution aware? Taryn, can I use the example of your business? Taryn is an amazing coach that helps women find love. And if her ideal client was not problem aware, they wouldn't know that they had a problem like dating and finding love, right, Taryn? Okay. So she wants to educate her ideal client, who is like maybe like a mid-30s woman, I'm guessing, a single woman. She needs to educate her client on what the problem is and the solution that she has, because maybe they're like, I know what my fucking problem is. I do not know what the answer is. I do not know what the solution is. So she has to educate them on the fact that there even is a solution for their problem, and that the solution she has access to. Okay, there's some people who are like, oh my God, I need you in the chat. So Taryn, do your magic. Meg, can the release runway be shorter than 6 weeks? Yeah, it can, but the longer your runway, the better you're going to do. So the more time that you there is a direct correlation between the amount of time that you breadcrumb this content out and the amount of money that you end up making, or the amount of resource that you end up finding. So that is my recommendation, but you can do whatever you want. Remember the houses in the beginning that were all decorated differently? You can do whatever you want. Your house doesn't have to look like my house. I like my house, but you might want to have your house look differently. That's fine. It's all good. Okay. Next, show up consistently, just like a multi-part spell, instead of letting fear or embarrassment keep you from showing up and then keep you in that analysis paralysis, perfectionist death spiral where you're like, I didn't post yesterday, and oh my God, I'm going to mess up the grid. And what if someone thinks this is stupid, and my reel didn't do well yesterday, and blah, 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 blah. No, stop doing that. No. Just show up consistently. It's okay that you're not perfect. It's fine. No one's perfect. Have you ever done a multi-part spell? The thing with a multi-part spell is that you have to show up every single day. If you do it one day and then you do it on day 5 and you forget all the days in between, it doesn't matter. The magic's not going to work. Guess what? The magic comes from exponentially showing up consistently. It builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. You can't just pick and choose the days that you want to come and like hope that you'll get the outcome that you want. All of this is a spell, right? Because we're directing our energy really clearly towards the outcome that we want. We're getting our tools together. We're working our magic. We're getting our energy really clear. And then we're showing up consistently and being in consistent action towards that outcome. Okay. And finally, audit your energy frequently. Are you in balance? Or are you in your not self theme? Is it starting to feel like this is not that fun and dope? If it starts to feel like that, that's a good indicator to change, that something needs to evolve, because energy isn't static and nor are you. So we need to be in relationship and in response to how things are feeling at any given time. I just shut down a newsletter that I've been doing for 4 years for holisticism. It grew. It was like how this company started. And it was the thing that I loved doing more than anything else in my week. I loved spending hours researching on the internet, writing this thing. It took a lot of time. I did it for free for 4 years. It was amazing. And then at a certain point, it did not feel good to do it anymore. I love still writing to my community, but I didn't want to do it in the same way because it didn't feel right to me. It felt out of balance. And a lot of people were really mad when I changed, really, really mad. And a lot of people unsubscribed when I said I wasn't going to do that anymore. And you know what? That's okay. Because since that's happened, we've continued to grow and the right people are showing up. People are more engaged than ever. And I needed to listen to that and not be afraid of what everyone else wanted me to do. I needed to check my energy because at the end of the day, you're the one running the company, right? Your energy is paramount. It's the most important thing. And I have a feeling you're starting your business to help people, but also to help resource yourself and to like pour back into yourself. And you can't forget that part. You can't just be like a martyr for the cause. That's not that cool. Does that make sense? Okay, great. How does one balance consistently showing up in energy audits on IG? We can talk about that at the very end, but I think that if you know something doesn't feel good for you, like really, really consistently, then, or it feels really good and then it feels really bad. If it goes like that pendulum swing, like very extreme, it might be time to like come back to center. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm on Instagram for like 8 hours a day and I'm like going live. And then the next day you're like, I'm so burnt out. It's like, maybe we do 4 hours. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe we do a couple stories instead. We don't need to go like over to the wall every time, right? What if it was easy? What would it look like if it was easy? You know, I'm really bad at asking myself that question, but I'm trying to ask it out loud a little bit more often. So we talked about conversion content. Now it's time to talk about the 2 types of paid content. This is, I almost said this is the money shot. This is the money shot. Like this is the exciting part of this presentation, I think. So 2 types of paid content, indirect paid content and paid content, direct paid content. Indirect paid content is when you create content that leads to a sale of something that doesn't belong to you. When you create content that leads to the sale of something that doesn't belong to you, but you end up getting paid for it. So an example of this would be affiliate marketing. Has anyone done affiliate marketing? Let me know in the chat box or just raise your hand. Just so I know. Yeah, like we've all seen affiliate marketing too. I'm sure you've seen it on Instagram. Influencers are like, use my code or use this link or whatever, right? That's how like bloggers made jillions of dollars. I'm always like, oh, I study the Mormon mommy bloggers because they're so fascinating to me. They're like living in these gigantic houses. And I'm like, how did you do that? You just put up, I mean, like, wow, amazing. You're a brilliant marketer. And they made so much money early in blogging because of affiliate sales. So when people came to their website and they had a ton of traffic and people would click on the links that were on their website, they got paid for every sale that happened. They weren't selling anything that was theirs. They didn't have a brand. You know, eventually some of them created brands or co-branded with companies like Nordstrom, but it was possible to make a really good living without selling anything yourself, just making content, which I think is the dream for a lot of people. And affiliate marketing, there's affiliate marketing and sponsored content. Sponsored content is when a company comes in and pays you directly to wear a cool outfit or to talk about, not sponsored by Spindrift, but would be open to it, to talk about a product right in front of your audience of people. If you're really focusing on indirect content, it will be important for you to grow your community and to grow your audience, because the more people you have, the more traffic you have, the more likely the more conversions you're going to get. That's just what it looks like, right? But you don't need to have a giant community or a giant audience in order to make buku cash from content. That's where direct paid content comes from. That being said, I want to just touch briefly on affiliate marketing and sponsored content, because I gave some examples of bloggers, but your affiliate content doesn't have to look that way. And I think it actually can be way more interesting and way more exciting and incredibly lucrative to you. So some examples of affiliate marketing. Let's say you're an affiliate for seed probiotics. You could just like put up a picture of you holding the seed bottle on your Instagram and maybe sell a couple bottles of seed. But what if you made a quiz that helped people understand whether seed was the right probiotic for them, or another probiotic was right for them, or some other, like, I don't know, supplement was what they should be taking in order to help their energy levels or in order to help their digestion. Think about how fun of an experience that would be for your user to go through that quiz. Who doesn't love a BuzzFeed quiz? Like, what flavor bagel am I? Yeah, I'm an everything bagel, obviously. How fun is that? We all love taking quizzes. To get someone all the way through that experience, deliver them an identity. Hey, you should be taking seed probiotics. Your quiz says this. You probably have a pretty high conversion rate. And that's really different than just posting a picture of you on your Instagram. No shade, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there are a lot more ways to be creative around affiliate and sponsored content that we don't often see or we don't often think about. Another example, I'm going to pull from the Holisticism Playbook. We made a free course all about emails and how to use like the magic of emails. We called Email List Magic. And I'm an affiliate for a company called Flowdesk, which is an email service provider. And we've had 10,000 people sign up for Email List Magic. It's a free course. It took some energy for me to make and to put out into the world, but so many people end up converting and becoming a paid members of Flowdesk. And I get paid for every time they use that little Holisticism promo code, which is amazing. And it's been incredibly lucrative for me. And I didn't have to do anything other than record a couple of modules of content and put it out to the world and offer it to my users for free. Like win-win for everyone, right? Sponsored content. Other ways we can make sponsored content. Of course, we can drop the SponCon or the hashtag ad on Instagram, but we can also like take the content that we're already making, like YouTube videos and podcasts, and we can drop a sponsored content. We can even like, what if we created mini courses that were sponsored content? Or what if we created like workbooks or ebooks around a brand that we loved, right? And we gave them out for free. There are so many different, more creative ways to be doing this stuff that I don't think that we always explore. Love Flowdesk. Me too. I love Flowdesk. So our next option, I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger because I'm so small, is to talk about direct content and direct paid content. Direct paid content is when you're getting directly paid by your customer for exclusive content. So indirect paid content, we can be sort of like navigating someone to another piece of content, like a book, or we can be navigating them to a physical product, like Spindrift, or we can be navigating them to a piece of software like Flowdesk, right? But direct paid content means that you are getting paid for the content that you are making from your audience members. So what does that look like? That can look like so many things. And I'm going to stick to digital products because we're on the internet and that's definitely my specialty. I couldn't tell you that much about writing a book or the process of selling books. I can tell you about writing a book, but let's talk about digital products. So some digital products that are obvious are courses and ebooks and workshops and digital downloads and workbooks and guides, right? Everyone remember the Bikini Body Guide? Kayla, it seems, is like a bajillionaire now. But other digital products that people don't always think about are memberships, which is a form of content plus, paid newsletters, and then things like Patreon, which again are content plus. They are another form of content that we're delivering to our users and we're getting paid for it. So your direct paid content doesn't have to be a course, doesn't have to be an ebook, it doesn't have to be a PDF, because it can be something that is really exciting for you and works for your community. We just launched a community called The Cusp. And that's an email that we send out that's It's $5 a month to sign up for it. And we send out news and job listings and product reviews and industry research reports. And that's a type of direct paid content. There's also a little community. It's really fun. Shout out to the class. I say all this to just empower you to be more creative. The idea that like, actually, who said this? Everyone has a course now? Or who's thought this in their head? Like when they scroll on Instagram, like, ah, fuck, that person has a course. This person has a course. Everyone's got a fucking course. Yeah, exactly. Right. First off, that's false. That's not true. But there are so many other ways to make content. That doesn't have to be the only way that we're getting paid from the content that we're making. And by the way, if you want to make a course, that's awesome too. I'm a huge fan of courses. I made PCCL. I'm going to talk to you about it in like 7 slides. I like courses. I think they're a great option, but they're not the only option out there. And when we get stuck thinking that there's only one right way, that's like when we lose our magic. Your magic is your unique way, right? It's you designing your house the way that you want to design it, the way that feels aligned and exciting and energizing to you. You feel me? So you get to make the rules. You're only limited by your imagination. And just because I didn't put something on this slideshow, this 50-minute slideshow today, doesn't mean it's not a possibility. There are so many brilliant ways to be a creator that gets paid in 2021. So many ways. And I think the most important is just getting from that high level perspective and understanding that the energy that we put into our content, we should be getting back in exchange. We should be getting something back from it and being really, really intentional with what we're driving people to. And what I see more often than not is that people are not clear with what they want their outcome to be. And they're just sort of, again, I'm going to say spinning your wheels because it's the thing that keeps coming up. They're sort of spinning their wheels, hoping that the clarity will come, hoping that someone will see them, hoping that they'll get their big break, hoping that they'll wake up with $1 million in their bank account suddenly one day. And while that could happen, what might even be easier is just deciding what you want to happen, deciding what you want that energy to direct to and directing to it. I'm reading this book about quantum leaping. I think I shared this last week, and collapsing timelines. And one of the suggestions is, the timeline from where you are to where you want to be, it wants to collapse. What if you were the thing standing in the middle of it? What if you are the thing that's standing in the way? So what would happen if you got out of the way and you just let time do what it's supposed to do? You let the universe do what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I know that also read me for filth too. I get that. Okay, so what would have to change if everything you made, you got compensated fairly for? What would have to change if everything you made, you got compensated fairly for? I would just there's no right answer. I'm just super curious what you're going to say. So pop into the chat and let me know. What would have to change if everything you made, you got compensated fairly for? An extra dose of courage. Yes, Amanda. I would have to set my own boundaries around, yes, Z, around emotional labor. Meg, whoa, no clue. Yeah. Stop wasting time on platforms I don't like. I'm assuming. Yes. I'm not sure. Becoming crystal clear about my needs. Yes, yes, yes. And communicating boundaries. Yes, 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 yes. Never give from an under-resourced cup. Yes, Casey. Thanks, Bree. I read your mind at the end of that sentence. Time boundaries. Yes. What would have to change? Fear. Yes, Letitia. What about capitalism would have to fail? Okay, well, I'm working on it really hard, Celia. really working hard. Actually, I think that we can do that. We can destroy capitalism from the inside out when we're getting really clear on our energetic exchange, because we've been taught that. We haven't been taught that, right? We haven't been taught that everything is an energetic exchange. We've been taught extractive processes and also degenerative processes. So what would it be like if our processes were generative and they weren't extractive? They poured back into, they were resourcing. Structure. Yes, this is how to destroy capitalism, own our power. Exactly. Getting ahead of my schedule, timelines. I think another thing that would have to change is probably asking for what you want. I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but that was definitely one for me where it's oh, I have to ask people to pay me. I keep making this free. Keep making free things, but I'm not telling people what I want them to do. I'm not like enrolling them in what I need in this relationship. I was just typing that. Yes, yes, Melissa, we're on the same wavelength. Even like getting really clear on what I want to direct people to. And sometimes that means getting clear on your identity and how you want to stand and how you want to be seen. I think another thing that has to change if you want to be compensated fairly is being okay being seen and also being okay getting rejected. Because anytime you are, anytime you're putting yourself out there to sell something or to ask for something, you're also putting yourself out there to be rejected. And that's really scary. Like nobody wants to be rejected. I personally hate it. I'm allergic to rejection. And yet we have to, in order to get what we want, in order to move forward. And that is amazing and hitting me everywhere. Yeah. And it's not like rejection's not fun, but guess what? The more you do it, like the more you realize you're not going to die, because it truly feels like you're going to, at least for me, I'll speak from the I. It feels like I'm going to die when I say something and people are like, no, no, you're fucking weird. Or like, no, why would I want that? Or I don't get like a huge hug and a warm embrace from it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not worthy. Everything I do is stupid. Everyone hates me. I can't do anything right. Right. I get in this like spiral of not that dopeness. That's not the truth. It's just rejection for the other person. It's just like, no, thanks. I'm going to take that sample over there though. You don't have to make it about you. It's not about you. And you have to get past the rejection of the first person in order to get to the next person in line who's going to say, yes, I'll take 25 of those. You know, it kind of sucks, but you get better at it. You get like more, you get stronger and you become more resilient is I guess the word. Yes, rejection is protection. Yep. Exactly. Decoupling self-worth from external validation is huge. Yeah, but Sarah, it's so hard. It's so hard. Okay. So I want to answer some questions. I also feel like I need to do 100 other things for things to be perfect before I announce something, which then doesn't happen and then nothing happens. Yeah, Lauren, I totally feel you on that. I'm going to show you, like I'm going to show you PCCL in 1 second, and I'm giving you guys all early access to it in a really discounted rate. And so I don't have a sales page up because it takes me a really long time to write sales pages. And my option was, well, I could give these people a sweet like baller discount and make it available to them, or I could wait 3 weeks and write the sales page and have things be like perfect, right? Well, what would be the easiest answer? What's easy? And how am I standing in my own way? Why don't I just like make it available to you? Do you know what I mean? Why not? That's easy. And it's not my job to convince you if it's right for you or not. My job is just to educate you on what's there and let you make the decision for yourself and get out of my own way and more importantly, get out of like my paternalistic view of like what's right and what's good for you. You can make your own decisions. You don't need me to like make your decisions for you or educate you on your decisions. So with that, Profitable Content Creator Lab. Oh, I got to get the link for you, and I will get it in just 1 second. It's not that link, but we're opening the doors. The doors officially open on April 19th, which is really exciting. PCCL is a 5-week course that we drip the content out each week. I'm going to take questions at the very end of this. I'm just going to get through 2 slides in case you want to know more about PCCL, and then let's talk about profitable content. So you get all of these modules. We drop them out each week. We talk about channeling amazing content, monetizing your creative process, the profitable content framework, which we talked a little bit about in this class, building a warm community and audience, and then high value sales, spell work, and easy release strategies. I'm all about easy release these days. And each piece of content, each module, which has multiple lessons inside of it, gets dropped out at the beginning of the week. It starts on May 3rd and it goes through the middle of June. It's a really fun course. You also get some really cool bonuses, like 4 weeks of guided hypnosis. We're having Maggie from the Now is Golden come in and hold space with us and basically do a deep work creative session where she's going to hypnotize us. And then we're going to have 3 hours to basically do deep work for ourselves and work on anything inside of our business all together. So it's an accountability group / like portal to deep dive on work. It's going to be so fun. Also, Ariana Mag, shout out to Ariana. She's in the North Node. She's such a G, is doing 5 human design individual modules for each human design type on creativity and on making content that gets you paid for your type. And everyone gets a special sigil pin, which is a sigil that we made specifically for empowering your creativity and getting paid. So you can put it on your shirt or your hat or on your desk or whatever, wherever you want to have it. And you activate the sigil when you look at it. So you're getting a little bit of magic, which is really cool. Signed up yesterday. So excited. Yay. So if you sign up today, you get the discounted price of $888. If you want to wait and sign up on April 19th, it's 1111. And there's also going to be a payment plan, but that'll come later. So if you want to join now, you get that early bird discount. That's what the situation looks like. Is there a way for those of us who've already taken PCCL to get in on any of those added gifts? You actually, if you've already taken PCCL, you'll get the whole revamped version of PCCL every single year moving forward. Same thing with any of our courses. So if you've taken IWA, every time we re-release IWA, we like add more value to it. We clean it up, we zhuzh it, you get the new version. Same thing with PCCL. So we'll zhuzh, and you can actually go through it together if with us, if you want, because we have a community inside Mighty Networks. So if you want to go through it with us again and just like have a little accountability group, then that's totally a possibility. Just let us know and we'll add you, but it doesn't happen automatically because we don't want to like overwhelm you. It does happen automatically that you get the new content. Okay, I'm going to drop the link into the chat, but in the meantime, I want to ask if there are any questions, and I want to hold space for you. So what questions do you have for me? How can I help you? Feel free to unmute yourself or pop into the chat, whatever makes the most sense. I personally love when you unmute. Oh yeah, who is it? Hi. Is there a question?
I don't have a question. I just want to say that this is the right direction, because I started my YouTube channel yesterday and I have so many things going on in my mind. I need to say this, I need to do this. And I'm just scatterbrained. So this kind of centered me and it's just directing me to get this going.
Yay. I'm so happy to hear that. Yay. My pleasure. Congrats on your YouTube channel. Will you drop it into the chat for us? I hope she does. I just dropped the link to PCCL in the chat. So if you want to go ahead and grab it, it's there. Okay.
I have a few questions.
Yes, my angel.
Actually, one of them is one that Monica is also asking. So I'm going to just ask that as well. But first of all, I just want to say that I took PCCL last year, and like I would not have a business today if it weren't for that. So like it is 100,000% worth the value. So just putting that out there. I am curious. So Monica asking, is the Runway good for an ongoing service like one-to-one coaching? That's part of my question, but also that I am still growing my list. It has definitely started like slowly but surely growing. But as you recall, Michelle, like I tried to launch a mini course, and I think I just really didn't put in what I probably should have. And, you know, there's a lot I could do there, but it's also, I think my list wasn't big enough. So like, I'm having this trying to figure out like, okay, I have a course in my head that I know the content that could lead people to it, but I don't want to release all that too soon if my list isn't there. So I guess I'm trying to understand, like, how do we create directed content in the meantime before our list is at that place for a Runway to really serve us? And then the other part of that question is, yes, I have one-to-one coaching, which I've put out there multiple times for the people who were originally on my list, but it's like, that's an ongoing service. So should I keep reminding people of that in the meantime? That's where I get a little confused.
Yeah, good questions. So I think if we're trying to grow our list, okay, paid content, let's say like a piece of paid content, like a course or a PDF or a set of Notion templates, that's a great piece of paid content. That's really like specific niche nuanced, right? Like it's really, really clear on what you're delivering. And so there's a possibility that your community members could still fit into your community, but might not want that offer, right? Because it's like super, super niche. So I would say when you're growing your community, expanding out just a little bit from like what that offer is. So you're opening up the pie a little bit more. That would be my recommendation, but there are tons of people out there who would be like, if your niche is super specific and you have 100 people on your list and they're like the perfect client and you sell 10 coaching spots, then like you've done what you need to do. You're going to make the money that you need to make. So I think it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to have like a bigger audience and community that that you offer things like courses or lower cost offerings to, and you're able to sustain yourself because you have that bigger community. So you don't need to sell high ticket items like coaching or really expensive coursework or something else? Or are you like, you know what, I really like having a small, really tight community and maybe having something that's a little bit more high value? I think it depends. What are you leaning one way or the other?
Well, I have my one-to-one offering that
Mm-hmm.
like I do get, people for, not as often as I'd like. So there's that. And, my one-to-one offering is, again, my ideal client is either the single woman or a woman who's in a relationship, really either or, but just who wants kind of added empowerment within her relationships or with creating secure relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But I also work one-on-one with women who maybe it's not about their relationship, but it's really about empowering them. So there's that piece of it. But
Mm-hmm.
then I do have a course that I want to do. Like I think I'm calling it the Secure Relationship Incubator,
Cool.
in my mind. But all my content leading up to it, like my content right now is a lot around attachment and what could be in that course. But I don't, because my list only has like 100 something people on it, and my last little course only one person bought, I'm like nervous, like I'm kind of feeling stuck as like, well, what should my weekly content be that kind of is priming people for this eventual course I want them to take, but
Mm-hmm.
that like if they're not ready, like I don't want to drop the gems like right before the course if I don't have enough people. So in the meantime, I'm kind of just like week to week kind of thinking of things that are sort of relevant, but it isn't exactly directed content each week, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. I
Okay.
totally understand where you're at. And I have definitely been there myself. So I feel you where you're like, but I don't want to leave. Like, what if no one sees the good stuff? And
Right.
here's the thing, like, you're going to keep putting content out. And we talk about this in PCCL and North Node, right? That like, I personally am lazy. So I don't want to make a ton of content. I want to make like one thing. And then I want to break that up and repurpose it across platforms and across channels. And that also means that you can repurpose it over time. Someone who reads your blog post is probably not going to also check out your YouTube channel. It's probably not going to also listen to your podcast. It might not even read your email, right? It might not even see you on Instagram. So you can take content. It's okay to take the same content and repurpose it across your channels and also go back to it. And what you're actually doing when you are going back to specific tenants is you're creating your unique formula, right? You're like drilling down even more into what it is that's like the sort of foundational aspect of the business that you're creating. And that is what you end up scaling. That's a productized service. So you're taking the key components of your service element, which is your coaching, and you're creating a product out of it. That's what a course is. That's what digital content is. And you're getting really clear on what those elements are. And so you're going to educate on them over and over and over and over and over again, because people are going to associate them with you. Just like we talk about the 4 pillars of intuitive business: growth, revenue, retention, impact. That's like one of the most important things I can teach anyone, is to understand those 4 pillars. So I'm going to keep talking about those pillars until the cows come home. So I would say figuring out what your sort of like core tenets or the framework of your work is, and then like keep talking about that. And like, also, this is where you get to design your house. This is where you get to call it what you want, right? We call it the 4 pillars of intuitive business. Maybe you're like, this is the magic wand method, or maybe like this is the archetype of, or the archetypal journey of someone who's insecure attached. You can like make it fun for you, make it beautiful for you, make it something that you want to remember. And it will start to, that's what branding is. That's what marketing is. You're like helping it roll off the tongue. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. And I think the repetition piece is key, because I think I was afraid of saying the same thing too much and boring people.
Yeah.
So I think I like I'm like, well, I already wrote a blog post about this. I'm not going to say it again. Like people already know. So I
They
think
don't
that is,
know.
yeah,
Like I think
that's
about, I
helpful.
don't even remember what I ate for dinner last night. Like I can't, like we are taking
Yeah.
in so much content constantly. We really need to be reminded. And also, like, the people who are obsessed with you and your content are never going to get tired of you. And they're never going to get tired of hearing you explain what you are here to tell them and teach them in new, interesting ways. And we learn through stories. So if you can, I think if you're ever afraid, not that you need to be, but if you ever like get in your head about it, what's a new way to frame this up? What's a new story that I can use? And maybe it's not the story of me. Maybe it's the story of my clients, a testimonial. When you share a testimonial, guess what? That's a really easy way to erase objections. And that's one of the 4 E's of conversion content. So it all kind of like flows together. You start to do it naturally. And that's what really good content does. But
Awesome.
yeah.
And then just to Monica's question too and mine, then like, would I continue promoting those coaching services in that time, even though I'm also trying to lead them to the directed course?
Yeah, you can. And I think this is where we might want to step back a little bit and look and just get a bird's eye view of what is the sort of like natural progression of our user. Is my user who takes my course, are they actually the perfect person to be teed up to doing one-on-one work with me? And are they really the only people that I should be kind of telling my one-on-one work about, or like pitching my one-on-one work to? I can mention it, here and there, but like, are they going to be the ones that really are converting the highest, and that I'm trying to take them on my ascension staircase to that next level? Does that make sense?
I think so, yes.
But
Thank you.
again, I think you can do whatever feels good to you. And I am not a salesy person. If you couldn't tell, I didn't even have the sales page up for PCCL. So I don't love having like selling things all the time. And that is I wish I was someone who loved to sell things all the time. Like I'm really going to try and become that person at some point, but I'm a projector and my energy levels are like amazing. And then they're like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you in a coma? And then the next day they're up and then they're down. I just can't keep up with like selling things constantly. So I've built a business where we open our doors 4 times a year and we sell something 4 times a year, pretty much. And then the rest of the year, I just get to be with my students and teaching and making cool stuff that I like. So I think it depends on what feels good for you. And just because it works one way for me doesn't mean that it's going to work the same way for you. But I think the tenets are similar. Does that track?
Yes, totally. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So good to see you. I feel like I need to soak something in. Okay, I'm going to see if there's any questions, but I'm seeing Kimmy's question. What are your thoughts about the length of availability for courses, etc.? Hi, Kimmy. I think that it depends. Sorry, I'm going to say that like pretty consistently. I think it depends on what you want. Typically, let's go back to this idea about selling things or conversion, right? Conversion is not convincing someone to do one thing or another thing. It's just helping them decide what's right for them or what's not right for them. So offering them more clarity. I think that we often need to be incentivized to make a decision. So by human nature, we will procrastinate any decisions that we don't need to make because we just don't want to make them. We want the endless possibility all the time, right? I'm like, but what if I could eat ice cream for dinner? So I'm not going to decide what I'm eating for dinner until I'm like absolutely starving. That was a horrible example, but I hope you get what I'm saying. So if you have a course or a product, let's go back to this product, right? That's open, available all the time. It's an e-commerce product. It's always on the website until it sells out, but let's say it doesn't sell out. There's no incentive for me to make the decision to buy this thing other than I really want it. And like, maybe I'll have a moment in my life where I'm like, oh my God, I need that road opener thing so bad, but maybe I won't. And we've all been there before when we've like added something to our cart and then we're like, do I really need this? Let me just sit on it for a while. And then it goes to the graveyard, the digital graveyard, and we never think about it again. It's because we have not been incentivized to prioritize the decision. But what often happens is that we get an email from the retailer and they say, hey, do you want 20% off on that product that's in your cart? You have to use this discount code in the next 24 hours to get it. That asks us to prioritize the decision in the next 24 hours of whether we want that thing or not. It makes it a little bit easier to decide because it makes it a little bit cheaper, but we still have to make the choice, right? So I think that I'm laying all this out because there's 2 options. We can have courses that are evergreen, meaning they're always available all the time. Or we can have courses that are open for a short period of time during the year. And it's called open or closed. If we have a closed launch or a closed product where we say this is only available, there's X number, there's 20 of these, you have to buy them in this period of time. I personally don't think that you should push sense of urgency or scarcity on people because I think that's fucking gross. I think what we need to think about instead is that we're asking people to prioritize the decision and saying like, hey, this is open for this period of time. For why? Because my energy levels are, because I don't like selling things and I just want to be like with my students. So this is only open for X period of time. You have until this date to decide. No hard feelings if you don't want it or you can't make the decision by then. It will be available again next year. It will be available again in 6 months. It'll be available again in June, whatever. Then you're not pushing scarcity, which is again disgusting and I would argue unethical. But you are using the mental model that we as human beings need something to incentivize us to make a decision, or else we will procrastinate making a decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Cool. I could talk about that shit forever. Brains are fascinating. What other questions do you have for me? I would love to answer them. I know I've taken you a little bit over time, but I want to make sure that you get everything you need. Hey, Lauren.
Hi. So I popped this in the chat earlier, but I have two different sides to my business. And one is I do sound meditation events and offerings, and the other is I have products which are naturally dyed kind of props that support that practice. And so they go hand in hand, but they are very different sales wise as far as, what I'm leading people to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of when this came up for me. And I think that's one reason why I have a hard time focusing my content and thinking about, okay, what do I want this to lead this person to do? Because they are different offerings. So I was wondering if you had any advice on how to not confuse people or how to blend those things and be clear.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that we want to take a high level perspective. Oh, and Rose says you make the most beautiful pieces. Lauren, will you drop your link into the chat so we can all see your stuff? I think taking a high level, you can't see my hand because I'm a hologram, a high level perspective of what does this business look like and what's the natural progression of a customer. And the first thing I would ask is, are these the same customer? So is the person who's going to buy things from me the same person who is going to, or who's going to buy products and props, the same person who's going to come to a sound event? Are they the same person? Are they different people? Are they slightly different people? Are they one version of the person and then the 6 months later version of them? Who knows? That is understanding your ideal client is really, really, really important. Just in general, I think if we go back to our question, if we have really penetrating questions, getting really clear on who our ideal client is can help, because it tells us all right, if this is the same person truly, then can I empathize with them and intuit what they need and what they need to hear in order to get them to do what it is that I'm hoping that they will do, and what makes sense in this journey. And all that we're doing is we're understanding our client's journey. So what's the process and the journey of this person? Now, yes, they are beautiful. Also follow Lauren on Instagram. She's a fun follow. At Sound is Color. So I would I don't know as much about your community as you do, obviously, but I would guess that with a product maybe props that are helpful for sound healing, that's a one-time purchase, right? So they don't need to make that repurchase over and over and over again. And so I would think that that person is a slightly different buyer than someone who's going to be signing up for sound events that you probably have pretty regularly on the schedule. And so I would want to kind of think about how that works. And maybe someone needs to we talk about this in when we talk about copywriting, but the types of, consumers there are, types of buyers there are, we call them by color: red, yellow, blue, green. Red buyers are the types of people who are there to make a trigger pull decision, meaning they're oh yeah, just add to cart. They don't even think about it. And there are some things that all of us are just fucking add to cart. I'll take 20. I'm not even looking at the price because I want it so bad. Then yellow buyers are people yellow buyers are at the opposite end of that spectrum. They're the type of person who looks at something for a year who follows you on IG, comments on all your stuff. And then finally a year later, you're like, oh, you bought an eye mask that costs $8. Okay, great. Like you really needed some time to make that choice because you're anxious. And yellow buyers, people under the color of yellow, they need a lot of evidence, they need a lot of proof, and they need a lot of empathy. So they really need to deeply connect with you in order to trust you because they're very anxious by nature. Green buyers are the types of buyers who really respond to like when you're showing up and stories and community. And they tend to be like, easily swayed by emotion. Blue buyers, again, are buyers that generally, when they see things like statistics or testimonials or evidence, then they tend to be pretty easy buyers. And at any given time, we are all of these buyers. Like I know that when it comes to drinks, I'm definitely like a red buyer. I'm like, I'll take everything here. I'll take it all. I'll take the whole store, the whole bodega, give it to me. But when it comes to skincare, I'm definitely a green. Like I need to like hear some stories and know about the founder. When it comes to software, I'm blue. I need to look at that. Like I need to see evidence. When it comes to, I'm trying to think of something that I'm a yellow buyer for, because I'm actually a yellow buyer for most things. When it comes to like buying into communities, to be honest with you, I'm really, really hesitant because I never feel like I fit in. And I'm always worried that people are going to let me down. And so I usually follow people for a really long time before I end up buying a digital product from them, or before I end up joining a community with them, because that's just the type of buyer that I am. So I think I know that we're talking about digital content right now, but I actually think that this exercise might be more useful to you in understanding who your buyer is and also what they need to go through in order to make that choice. And so what you might want to do next is do some client interviews and kind of ask them about like, why would you use this thing, or why would you buy this thing? And how often do you buy meditation props or things that help self-care products? What do you look for? What do you need to see or know or understand? And that will inform if you need to make content. Well, first off, that will inform whether these are the same ideal client. Then that will inform, if they are the same ideal client, what the sort of like story is for them or the experience is for them. Do they buy one of your sound healings first and then they're like, I need all the goodies to go with it? Or is it the opposite? Are they looking for the goodies and then they find that you do sound healing and they're like, oh, sick? Or is it at the same time? Who knows? So you'll learn a little bit more about that. And then you'll also learn a little bit more about their buying personas and why they make the decisions that they make. And like when you understand why they make the decisions that they make, you can make the 4 E's of content, right? Because you understand, oh, what do I need to teach them? What do they need to know or understand in order to say yes to this thing? Who are they? What's their head nod moment? What objections do they have? And then what's an easy, quick one that I can give them? Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And
Okay.
thus far, I have very few like crossover customers between the two.
Oh,
Which is really
interesting.
surprising to me. Yeah. So it will be interesting to kind of speak to both and kind of figure out what it would take for each of them to cross over to the other and investigate that. So that's really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And you might even want to open up the records of the business and figure out if those two things should be separate,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Good call.
Because like maybe you need to go like full e-com with the physical products
Yeah.
and just like double down on SEO. And maybe for the offering, for the service and the digital content, which is your sound healings, that's a completely different tactic,
Yeah, I've thought about that because initially when I launched this, the sound healing portion was just going to be in person, something that I did like, locally. And then after 2020, it sort of became one thing. And so, yeah, it's an evolution. So,
Mm. I feel you. And like a good piece of advice someone recently gave me, not recently, like within the last 6 months, is to not run away from bad news. to actually like seek out bad news, because not that what you're going through is bad news at all, or you're going to find bad news, but I think sometimes we're afraid of what we're going to find. We're afraid to dig deeper because we're like, but what if I'm wrong? Or what if this is going to tell me that like I should shut the thing down, or that I've been going in completely the wrong direction? And the thing is, there's no such thing as bad news. All news is just news. It's just information. And the sooner we can find something that's like indicating which direction we can go in, the sooner we can like make that pivot or make that change. And also don't discount your information. Your intuition is information. It's one of my favorite quotes. So trust it, your information and your intuition alongside the information you get from your users.
Thank you. Great reminder.
My pleasure.
I love y'all.
Good to see you. Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't want to take up any more time. I just want to share this. Again, I have so many things going on in my mind. I have the YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel is on. I have multiple sclerosis, and I've gotten through it for several different reasons. And I want to share that with people. And I have products that I've used to get through it. I don't create those products, but you know, I can like link as an affiliate.
Yeah.
To products. And then I have a legging store. And
cool.
So that's totally, well, yeah, I guess it could be beneficial as far as that's concerned. Look good while you're, I don't know, I'll figure something out. But yes, so at this point, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, should I just let one stay to the side until I have more awareness of how to do this YouTube channel? I'm talking about MS. I want to share with people how I've gotten this far, but I don't see I just see it being a blog, I guess, you know, and right now I'm looking for something to bring in some income. And so
yeah,
it does, you know.
Yeah, well, I think you got it. You said it from the jump, you know, any sort of like content that's going to be getting you audience or views, that's attention. And attention is a form of, you know, of compensation. It's something that we can turn in, we can monetize. We can monetize any community, and that's what you're building. So because we can either use something like affiliates or sponsored content, and so easy to get sponsored on YouTube now, right? You can opt in. There's so many ways for creators to get paid on platforms like YouTube and Twitch and TikTok, which is so cool. And we have these other options too. If we want to divest from getting paid from those platforms and use our own ways to get paid, and not be reliant on those platforms, then we can do things like affiliate marketing or sponsored content or making courses or making PDFs or even making a physical product and selling a physical product. But I would say, like, you know, you can't do it wrong. You can't fail if you decide that a story is not over, right? So if you get to the point where you're like, this isn't working, I feel like I failed. Well, if the story's not over, then you haven't failed. Like, just keep going until you get the ending that you want. But I think like getting comfortable and familiar, and also like gauging your energy and what you love. I hear that you're so passionate about sharing your journey with MS. That's where I would start. And then, like, because you have all that energy and you're excited about it, the things that don't work so well, they're going to be like, okay, no big deal. It's like rolls off your shoulders, right? And you'll try the next thing and you'll keep experimenting with what works for you. Because it does take some time, right? Like, you know, I started with a blog and then I was like, whoa, blogs are hard. And then I was on Instagram and I was like, whoa, it's scary here. Now we have a podcast and that's a lot of work, but it's so much fun. And I really feel like we found our groove. So I think that you're right on track. And remember, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So decide where your energy is going and where you want to spend your energy.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, I see a question from Etienne. Do you have any tips for planning paid content for launching? I'm hesitant to charge people before establishing trust and community. Yeah, I think that you have to create some that conversion content to get to paid content. So typically, like, I'll use shorthand and call this free content, right? The more free content that you make, the more people are going to end up converting and buying the thing that you want them to buy. And you need to build up community over time in order to have someone to sell those products and services to. And there are different, you can have a community or an audience. We talked about communities versus audiences last week. Audiences are parasocial. So, and they can be bought. So they can be something that you buy and you acquire people. Communities are something that is built and you have real relationships with the individuals that are inside that group. Communities tend to convert at a much higher rate because you've created that know, like, and trust factor with them, versus audiences, maybe not so much. I feel like we see the distinction in that on Instagram a lot. When someone has an audience versus when someone has a community, they get treated really differently. I would make sure that you've got that know, like, and trust factor. You've created that with your community before you launch a product. And not just because you want to have people to sell to, right? Like, that's really important, but also because I said this last week, you want to fall in love with the problem, not the solution. And so if you've got an idea for a product in your head and you're like, okay, I have to reverse engineer a community to buy this product, I would say maybe rethink that idea. Maybe instead grow your community, get to know these people, and then figure out what their problem is and how you can solve that problem for them. It might be the course that you've made, it might be a piece of paid content that you've made, but it might not be. And so I think it saves you actually lots of time and energy to focus on building your community first. And it's also possible to have a small community and still get paid really well. You don't have to have thousands of followers on Instagram or on your email list in order to, like, make a decent paycheck. I'm going to pop into the chat with a formula that I talked about last week. Actually, I'll try to find it on Notion, but the formula for figuring out what your revenue is going to be is, for a product or a service or anything that you're working with, is your conversion rate. And then your number of leads. So your conversion rate is a percentage, right? Your number of leads. Leads are the people in your community or the people who are your ideal client, who are primed to buy that product. And then the price of your, and I'm going to do $, the price of your product. So that's the formula to what your revenue is going to be. So they're all variables, right? So if your conversion rate is 5% and you've got 100 leads and your product is $100, then you're going to make $500, right? But if you wanted to bump that up, then you would bump up the price, right? And that would probably contribute to your conversion rate going down a little bit, because when something's super expensive, the conversion rate goes down a little bit, but actually not as much as you think. It's really surprising. It won't go down significantly unless your product is like over $2,000. That's when you see a drop off in conversion rate, but up to then, not really. Bye, Elise. Good to see you. It's got to spend so much time together today. So you've got options. You can grow your community. That's an option to increase your revenue. You can make the price of your product more expensive. That's an option to increase your revenue. I think the easiest thing is to increase your conversion rate. Your conversion rate you have control of when you create that know, like, and trust factor with your audience, when they respect you, when they like you, when they trust you, and they know that what they're going to get is really good. Thank you, Kimmy. Star student. Yes. Okay. Kimmy just DM'd me like, oh my God, do you want to be my teaching assistant? Because she just DM'd me the Notion doc. I just dropped it in so you all can make a copy of it, but the formula is in there. Look, I literally do this for every single product that we release, where I'm like, okay, how many leads do I need to get? That's why this is a secret. I don't release our products to everyone. I release our products when we release a product to a very small subset of my list. I don't release it to the whole 75,000 person list. I will release it to like 1,000 people or like 800 people, because I don't want to burn out my list of people. And also, not everyone on my list is my ideal client for every single product that I make. Profitable Content Creator Lab is for people who are content creators. It's not for service providers. So there's a class for service providers. It's called IWA. Profitable Content Creator Lab is for people who want to make money off of products. IWA is for people who want to make money off of services. Those are two different people. So I want to make sure that I'm giving the right product to the right person. And I don't want to be spamming people with stuff that isn't right for them. You get what I'm saying? So we use this all the time inside of holisticism. Like, okay, well, in order to make what we want to make, how many people do we need to get in our lead list? How many people do we need to promote this to? And usually that number is a lot smaller than you might expect. You could have you could have 500 people on your list and still have a 6-figure launch. Like that's totally, totally possible. And that means that you're talking to the right people, because when your conversion rate is higher, your users know you, they want your product, they're problem aware, and they're solution aware, which we talked about in this conversation already. And that's the best way to increase your conversion rate. And then there's other stuff you can do, right? Like having really awesome copy and letting people know, sending out emails pretty much every day when your product is open. That's going to increase the conversion rate. It's like, I know it's annoying because people don't like this, but there's almost a direct correlation with the number of emails that you sell and the number of products that you sell, unfortunately. How do we know what our conversion rate is before we sell? Really good question. You can kind of guess your conversion rate if you're looking at things like who opens your emails and who clicks through your emails, as well as you can do like a beta. So you could sell a workshop, right? Where you're like, okay, come to a live workshop that I'm teaching, send that out to your community, see how many people end up buying, how many people end up joining, calculate the size of your email list. You'll be able to calculate your conversion rate. You can also find your conversion rate if you have an e-commerce company on your website. So that's a really easy way to because you'll be able to see from like your sales page. But your conversion rate is something that you'll get to know better over time as you open up to your list and you open up to your community more and more and more. So I know that our conversion rate is really high when I do a certain number of things. So when I show up, when I show my face, when I'm making content consistently, when I really like open myself up and I let people ask me questions, because like you might not end up joining the North Node or PCCL or the Cusp today, but you might listen to our podcast after this. And you might listen to the podcast for the next year and you might hear something that you really like. And by that point, maybe you'll trust me and what we're building here and you'll really like it. We'll be on the same page. And then you might want to potentially participate in what we're up to over here. Maybe you'll join the Cusp, who knows? But I know that there's a direct connection between how often I'm here and showing up for my people and also just like teaching for free and really like the energetic exchange I get back. That's really what it is, right? That's all that we're talking about. I went off on a tangent there. Sorry, I did not mean to, but I hope that was useful. Are there any more questions that I can answer while we're here? I think I'm gonna wrap in just a couple minutes because I was not expecting this to go for 2 hours, but I'm loving it, like marathon status. Any more cues? Anything not related to profitable content? Oh, I'm gonna drop the link to PCCL one more time. Heads up, PCCL. Oh, I'm so glad, Lauren. Yay, PCCL. The doors officially open on April 19th. So this price, $888, is going to go up next week on Friday to $999. If you want to get access, like you have plenty of time to decide. There's no pressure. And if you even wait until April 19th, again, there's plenty of time to decide. It's all good. And we offer PCCL once a year. So if you're like, not this time, that's fine. 2022, baby. We've got plenty of time. Okay. Do you recommend surveying people mid-course to see how it's being received? Oh, hell yeah, definitely. I definitely do. I think that the class is the book is Quantum Leaping for everyone who asked. I recommend, actually, personally, Giselle, opening your course and connecting with your people like while your course is happening. And so I recommend, we talk about this in PCCL, but I recommend having a community because number one, communities are super valuable when you're teaching because they're really valuable like, I'm sure Taryn could would agree, like having that private PCCL group when you're going through the course content is just so nice because you have friends who you meet and who you can go through it with. You can ask questions in real time, which is like my biggest pet peeve. I don't want to feel alone and I don't want to feel stupid. So if I'm going through a course and I don't know how to connect to the person who's teaching me, I feel like they've abandoned me and I already have issues. So I want to be able to connect to my teacher and ask them clarifying questions when I need their help, or at least have the option to have them answer me, like, or have my friends answer me or have a community answer me like relatively soon. Or else I get really anxious and it's a really bad experience for me. And I think that opening up a community can also tell you the tenor of how people feel. And if you need to, you can add more support. So the last thing that I want is for my students to feel like, wow, that wasn't worth it. I don't think that anyone feels that when they get the amount of content that we give and what we end up giving people when they join anything that we do, I think can sometimes be to the point of overwhelming because we give so much. It's like we're smothering you with love. But I want people to always feel like we are meeting them where they're at. So if they have a request like, hey, I really like the copywriting module, but I need a little bit more help with copywriting, we've opened up like workshops where we'll workshop copy together. And that's really important to making those people feel seen and heard and not like they're just customers, because they're not. They're my students. And like, I love my students. I'm about to cry. I love my students so much and my community so much. All I want to do is see them succeed. They are not just random people. Every single time someone buys something from us, I get a notification on my phone and I say a prayer for them. I say like, I send energy to them. Like they're not just anonymous faces on the internet. They're real people. And I want them to know that we feel that way about them. And I want them to feel that way too. So I hope that answers your question, Giselle. I have a community, but they're so quiet. Yeah, community is something that you have to keep nurturing over time. And also community takes their cues from you. So being in your community and teaching them through action is one of the best ways that you can get them to liven up. Also having a community lead. Janelle shout out to Janelle, is our community lead and she's amazing. Yeah, raise the roof because Janelle's incredible. And she really helps support the community where I can't, because I'm kind of like the teacher, right? Janelle's like your fun like camp counselor who like encourages you and sees people and supports people in the ways that I can't always, because we have different roles in the business and we perform different archetypes. So you might want to find someone who can be your Janelle inside of your community, who could support you in that way. Just a heads up, it can be really helpful. Okay. All right. I think that's all. I feel like I could just gaze at your beautiful faces forever. This has been really fun. But I have another class next week. We're going to talk about copywriting. So if you're like, wait, I want to talk more about that getting people off the edge thing and being ethical and not being salesy and gross and scarcity, we're going to talk about that with copywriting, which is my first love. And also how copywriting is spell casting, because it really is. So I would love to see you there. I'm going to drop the link to PCCL one more time. And have a good weekend. I love you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.